Alberta, an energy powerhouse, a province rich in oil, independence, and ambition. But to understand why Alberta is the way it is today, politically, economically, and socially, we need to look back. Back to a defining decade, the 1990s, a time of crisis, reform, and decisions that still shape this province. The 1990s began with a storm cloud over Alberta's economy. Global oil prices, once soaring, had plunged. By 1991, crude hovered around $21 a barrel. 2 years later, it dropped below 15, and in 1998, just 12. For a province so dependent on energy royalties, this was devastating. At the same time, Alberta had racked up $23 billion in debt. The economy stalled, unemployment soared past 10%, and the government was spending more than it could afford. In 1992, Ralph Klein became Premier of Alberta. His plan? Cut deep. 20% spending cuts across most departments. Thousands of public sector jobs were slashed. And a wave of privatization. Liquor stores, registries, hospital services all moved to private hands, and so did the profits. Supporters hailed Klein's approach as common sense. Alberta balanced its budget by 1995, and Alberta was debt-free by 2004. But the cost was real and long-lasting. Rather than increase taxes or restore energy royalties as oil prices recovered, the government kept rates low to attract investors. Between 1993 and 1997, Alberta lost over $2 billion in potential royalties. Alberta gave the oil industry an estimated $800 million more in direct and indirect subsidies through the 1990s. The Alberta government introduced a series of incentive programs. The Royalty Reduction Program, the New Well Incentive Program, and deep gas drilling incentives. These allowed energy companies to pay lower royalties, or in some cases none at all, for new or riskier wells. Imperial Oil, Suncor, Pan-Canadian, and Alberta Energy Company, later Encana, reported substantial profit increases year over year by the end of the decade. Suncor's net earnings, for example, jumped from $71 million in 1995 to $261 million in 1999. While healthcare and education were slashed, oil and gas companies continued to receive significant financial government support. Hospital funding was cut. Rural facilities closed. Over 1,500 beds were removed. Wait times grew. Thousands of healthcare workers were laid off. Schools were amalgamated. Class sizes ballooned. University tuition doubled for many students between 1993 and 1998. Privatization reduced government costs. But it also meant Albertans paid more through higher user fees, fewer jobs, and lost public revenue. For example, privatizing liquor retail eliminated over $400 million per year in profit for Alberta. The money that used to grow Alberta revenues now flowed to private retailers. Many public sector jobs were replaced with lower-wage, non-union work. Wages fell by 30 to 40% in some sectors. By the late 1990s, Alberta boasted some of Canada's highest average weekly wages. But averages can be misleading. That growth came mostly from high-paying oil and gas jobs. Rural communities, public servants, and low-income Albertans didn't share the same gains, especially as personal service costs rose. The 1990s were also a missed opportunity. Alberta could have diversified. But the Klein government believed markets, not government, should pick winners. With no targeted investment in tech, manufacturing, or renewables, the province doubled down on oil and gas. As oil prices climbed again in the late 90s, the urgency to diversify faded. The province remained tied to a single volatile sector. Federally, Alberta's frustrations grew. The Chrétien government's push for environmental regulation, including the Kyoto Protocol, was seen as a threat as Alberta grew increasingly protective of oil companies. Many Albertans felt Ottawa didn't understand the West. The Reform Party surged in popularity, and Alberta embraced a political identity framed as low taxes, small government, and strong resistance to federal oversight. Alberta came out of the 1990s with no debt, high oil wages, and global attention. But Alberta also carried the cost of weakened public services, missed opportunities, deeper economic dependence, and a larger financial supporter to the oil industry. Today's challenges in healthcare, education, economic volatility, and the billions in subsidies and lost revenue still provided to oil companies can all be traced back in part to decisions made in that defining decade. Knowing how and why things happened helps us ask better questions. and maybe, just maybe, make better choices for the future. If you found this story helpful, like, share, and subscribe.